This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carranante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carranante. The last week before the winter meetings, and what an exceptionally stupid week in the Yankees universe. Devin Williams, who you didn't want back anyway, right? You can weigh in the comments if you want, but you didn't want him back. Went to the team that you didn't really want to see him go to, or maybe you did. Depends on what version of Devin Williams you think you're getting and what portion of his stats you agree with and align with most, or maybe it's just the eye test where you remember that he blew the AL East for us and blew like 8-9 winnable games last year. And the eye test matters. If you hated the Devin Williams experience, there's a good reason why. Plus, Sonny Gray speaks out after going to the Red Sox, refused everything he's ever said in the past. Yes, Hot Stove comes back with Jack Curry, makes us all feel pretty bad about Cody Bellinger and even worse about Trent Grisham. And here come the winter meetings. Should we expect the Yankees to do anything at all? Based on last night's show, no inkling that anything's close. Jack Curry and the people who usually like to lay the breadcrumbs for us laid no breadcrumbs. We'll do our best to forecast, but hard to get excited about what we're about to see next week. But if you love movement, Thomas Carranante, no better time of year. Players are going to change hands. Rumors are going to swirl. We might get tied to some big names we don't plan on spending on by Scott Boras and the people that like to tie us to stuff. But yeah, I'm not sure we are about to have a big winter meetings. You and I are going to do a lot of, interesting work. We're going to have fun. But the New York Yankees version of I don't know.
Feels like you and I will be having a bigger winter meetings than the Yankees will.
This might be a longer winter meetings than the New York Yankees at this 1 hour meeting on a podcast.
It's very true. Look, we're both in the same spot. Kind of no idea. We read a lot, read all the time, reading so we can write more to inform you guys. Couldn't tell you really much that is on the Yankees' radar. Maybe it's constructed that way. Maybe they don't want to be mentioned in as many names as possible. Maybe they want to avoid all of the rumors with being linked to bigger names and being linked to just everybody who you can make a general link to. Star player, that's got to be a Yankees target, right? Like it's been for the last eight or so years. It gets exhausting and it gets annoying. And we know for a fact that the Yankees, they've come out and they said it. They're a little bit sick of being used as a negotiating chip or ploy for these agents and these top level players. But at the same time, if this is the first offseason that the Yankees are going to decide to act in this manner, it's oddly coincidental because everything is kind of lining up for them to maybe not do anything. You can look back to the Trent Grisham qualifying offer decision. You can look toward the lockout after the 2026 season. You can look at Hal Steinbrenner's recent comments. You can look at just Brian Cashman's general activity in free agency and on the trade market for the last 7 or 8 years. It could be a situation where the Yankees aren't really prepped to do much and they're not involved we're not hearing their names because they're actually not involved on a lot of players because of the payroll concerns and whatever Hal Steinbrenner was talking about with the revenue and with whatever changes are coming for the 2027 season with the potential work stoppage. So, and look, we have talked about it since the day the season ended for the Yankees. You can't really go out there and like drastically improve this team year over year. And this is why we were so critical of the past missteps and the past inactivity, because you knew that this free agent class was not particularly great. You knew that the trade market continues to get more and more complicated with the expanded playoff field. So the fact that you didn't strike 2, 3, 4 years ago on names that would have been better fits or would have insured you against a potential backslide in 2025 and then into a weak free agent trade class, like here we are. And this is why it's all a problem. So this has been... it's been part entertaining, part not, right? Like there's some action happening, but the rumors are a little bit weak. But we do know that a lot of stuff is going to happen starting on Sunday, if not over this weekend, because there's already been a decent amount, a number of names, the relief market particularly, not a lot of names have flown off the board already. But yeah, I don't know where you place the New York Yankees in any of this. We've done our guesstimating, and it feels very much imperfect. It feels very much like it's shrug until you see a move happen, and then you could say, all right, I can see where they're going now. But after the Trent Grisham decision, it's literally everything hanging in the balance, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been like 2+ weeks of us being like, wow, it's really hard to predict stuff now, but it really is. And look, we'll give it to, I think you give it to Jack Curry last night, and Yankee fans, you make me laugh. And I am one of you, and Thomas is one of you. So when we come after Yankee fans, we're not saying we don't share similar viewpoints, but Jack Curry gets on Yes Hot Stove the last couple of years and it becomes must watch because he makes it very clear that the Yankees are extremely interested in Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He makes it very clear that the Yankees are extremely interested in re-signing Juan Soto last year. They don't get either of those things done, but we learned they are very serious after the fact. Like the Soto offer is $760 million that now I guess they're just excited they don't have to spend. The Yamamoto offer goes down to the wire and the Dodgers get the flexibility with Ohtani's contract and the Yankees don't get it. But we follow Jack every step of the way dogmatically, and he's tied in with this stuff. He gives accurate updates. Last year, when everyone was worried they were going to trade for Nolan Arenado, Jack Curry got on Hot Stove every week and said, not a fit there. Don't see it at all. Please stop it. Everything but please stop asking me about this. Like, it's not going to happen. And so we trust Jack Curry for good reason, because the last couple of years he's gotten on and made the Yankees. Most importantly, he's obviously linked them to Paul Goldschmidt early last year. He poo-pooed the Arenado. But in my opinion, the most important thing he did was make it very clear who their top target was of every offseason. Yamamoto, after getting the Soto trade done, and Juan Soto last year. They didn't get either of those two targets. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. Max Fried, I don't remember how much you really talked about Max. Max Fried kind of took us all by surprise, and that happened in the interim period after Soto went elsewhere, which I'm pretty sure was the Sunday night before the winter meetings really started, and Willy Adames was the Saturday. So if you're interested in stuff moving, it could be Saturday, it could be Sunday night during the Hall of Fame discussion. But Jack Curry usually gets on that show and lays out, here is the Yankees' number one priority. Whether they get it done or not, he makes it clear for you. And everyone follows along, and that's why people were so excited for last night, and that's why people were, rallying to the cause and saying, everybody watch, he's going to lay it out. And then Jack Curry gets on last night and basically says what we've been saying for a couple weeks and what Brian Cashman tried to deny but didn't do a good job of, that the Trent Grisham decision to return complicates their pursuit of Cody Bellinger. Doesn't eliminate them from getting Cody Bellinger, but if you wanted Yankee spin zone from Cashman being like, hey, we were fully prepared for that. Trent had a great year. We're excited. Welcome back to the family. Now we go work on Bellinger. I mean, that's clearly spin zone. The reality is that whether they get Bellinger or not, this makes it harder. And shout out to Jack Curry for not being afraid to say that. He basically said he did what he does every year. He laid out their number one priority, Yamamoto, Soto, into Bellinger. He said at the end of the year, Bellinger was their top priority. And then the Trent Grisham decision happened. So you have a clear pivot. He does the same thing every year where he lays out the top target. And this year he laid out that it was Bellinger and said, but now things are a little different than they were. Grisham accepted that money. Bellinger's going to have big money suitors. Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez are available. We don't know how far the Yankees will go. And then a bunch of Yankee fans decided to say, you know what? This year, I don't believe Jack Curry. I don't think he's plugged in. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. They're going hard. Trust me. They're going big. You're listening to Hot Stove, really? Like, they want to downplay the Yankees' interest in people because they don't want the Yankees to get run. You heard what he said about being tied to Edwin Diaz and Pete Alonso. They don't want to get the Yankees involved in these markets and blow them out of proportion. So you trust Curry the last 2 years when he tells you what you want to hear about Yamamoto and Juan Soto. And then this year when he tells you, hey, Cody Bellinger is their top priority, but they're kind of in a little bit of hot water now that Trent Grisham has decided to come on board and the market's getting to a place they were hoping it wouldn't. Now you're like, it's hot. It's early. It's before the winter meetings. It's Hot Stove. Like, what is Hot Stove anyway? Who is Jack Curry? So Yankee fans, I would just say nothing he said last night eliminates the Yankees from signing Bellinger. But I would believe him when he says that this got more difficult after the Trent Grisham move. And you're talking about, like we said, if you bring Bellinger back, you've locked up 2 of your outfield spots long-term and one of them short-term. So you don't know who your center fielder is, but you do know that you can't get a read on Dominguez and Jones this year because you've got this 1-year center fielder. You need to see what these guys can give you at the Major League level. And if you bring all, Bellinger and Grisham and Judge back, you might not be able to do that. So the Grisham thing affects so many things in it. The positives are he has the same season he did last year. That's really the only positive. If that happens, then great. That's one positive. If that doesn't happen and he takes a step back, there are no positives because he makes the Bellinger pursuit harder. He makes the youngsters' positions in the outfield more complicated and more convoluted, and perhaps steals a year from their development at the big league level and takes money away from the reliever market, backup shortstop market, the bench market, the Ahmed Rosario market, what have you. So listen to Jack Curry. He did not say they're not getting Cody Bellinger. He did not say a deal is not close and a deal won't happen. A deal might happen, but he acknowledged the reality that this seemed to be their top priority when the season ended. Then the Grisham thing happened. Now it got tougher.
I still can't believe that either they thought they were going to get a 4th round draft pick out of this, or they just didn't think it was a big deal if he accepted it, because you can't tell me that having the payroll go up to, I think it was like close, maybe it's like 265 now or 268 or something, to have it go up that significantly for, again, a play. I like Trent Grisham. I have no problem with him on my team, but you're banking on a 1-year outlier of a season, and they are putting pressure on themselves and him to have a similar season. And if he doesn't, then this is just open for so much criticism, like more than a qualifying offer decision should be. Like, usually these are just rudimentary, where it's like, all right, offer the really good guy the qualifying offer, he's going to decline it, and then we're going to get a draft pick. Or if he surprisingly accepts it, then we're in a great spot. This was not that. This was, I still don't know what this is, because I can't for the life of me sit here and say, oh, well, the Yankees knew they were getting a 4th round draft pick out of this and they couldn't turn that down. Because on what planet does that logic, how does that compute for any team? A 4th round draft pick is meaningless in this day and age.
There's also there's a sad third thing, because it doesn't, you're right, it doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. They really wanted this draft pick. Yeah. They really thought he would turn it down, or they really thought they could run it back with Bellinger and Grisham. There is the sad third thing of, like, they know they're not getting Bellinger. They knew Grisham would accept it, and they didn't want to go into the season with 2 outfield vacancies, and they just said, you know what, this is less than ideal, but we're not losing both of these guys.
I definitely understand that too, but at the same time, if you're paying Trent Grisham $22 million and Bellinger is going to be, a 6-year, $30 million AAV, I think it's obvious what deal you make just based on historical track records. Again, everyone says, oh, there's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal. It is if it blocks you from making a 6 or 7 year deal for Bellinger. We can argue about it all day. Is it all these deals are too long? That's part of the reason there might be a lockout, because they're on no plan. Like Juan Soto, great player, not a 15-year contract. I don't care. These contracts should not be taking players into their late 30s, early 40s. It's wrong. The whole system.
The Dylan Cease deal was quote unquote terrible, but also if you want Dylan Cease for the next 3 years, and you got to pay him way too much money for 7, that's life.
Yeah. And it's been this way for a while. We've seen these contracts. Look, Miguel Cabrera's contract with the Tigers, however many years ago, like this has been a thing for a while. So for a team like the Yankees to, again, try to avoid this reality, like they even did it with Aaron Judge. They were trying to draw a line in the sand with the MVP, and it's just so bizarre how they're handling business and how they're trying to have their cake and eat it in all these different ways, where they have the unique financial advantage that they're refusing to exercise. So there is no planet where we said it as if, like, look, it's in the back of our minds. Trent Grisham accepting this, it's worrisome because it's a lot of money and it pushes them up against the payroll threshold that they don't want to be involved with. They've come out and they've said it. It's not like we're speculating this. They've come out and they've said it, and they have evidence-based cut the payroll over the course of, in different periods over the course of the last 10 years. So now that Jack Curry's saying it, or at least Jack Curry is insinuating that, we got some complicating factors here. It's like, yeah, We certainly do. Everybody is well aware. I'm not saying like Jack Curry's doing his job. He's telling us that, but it's also every fear that fans had. And that's why I was so, I don't know. I was just so miffed by all of like the beat writers being like, oh, you're sure you guys are mad about giving $20 million to a guy with 34 homers. It's like, no, I'm mad that he only did that 1 year. And I'm also mad that I know this is going to take the Yankees out of other biddings and other trades, whatever it might be. And they put themselves in a box too, because let's say they bring back Bellinger. Let's say they sign Kyle Tucker, right? Cool. Pretty good outfield. They take Tucker away from, we'll get into the Tucker rumors in a minute here, but now you're looking at Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez as odd men out or fourth outfielder, however that might be, right? It's either they're not getting enough reps and their development is getting stunted, or second option is you are selling low on them, which is what the Yankees don't do. They never do it. They would rather watch the prospect wither and die in front of them than trade them for anything less than what they deem reputable value. So now you're sitting there and looking at potentially wasted assets after overpaying for Trent Grisham and likely overpaying for Kyle Tucker or Cody Bellinger, whoever you prefer. And it's just such a very imperfect and like it's an imperfect, rigid process because again, they have these ways of going about their personnel decisions, and every year it's like it's the same thing that doesn't make sense in a different way. I don't even know how to describe it because every year there's something different, but this is now where are you going to give the young guys a shot, or are you going to block their path, or are you going to trade them and get any sort of value, or are you just going to let them sit on the bench and waste away, or hope somebody gets in, not hope, but like, or say, hey, someone's probably going to get injured, so they'll play in 100 games. We'll be fine. And that's why the Trent Grisham decision to give him the qualifying offer complicated so many things. And now you're getting confirmation from the man who knows everything and anything about the Yankees when the offseason arrives. So if you want to choose to ignore that, enjoy yourself. But Jack Curry's on the nose every single offseason, exactly on top of everything that's going on.
His whole mission is trying to keep you informed without beating you over the head with it. Like he's trying to tell you what's going on in the front office.
Great guy too.
He's the best, but he's trying to tell you what's going on behind the scenes without outright saying it. That's what, when he talks about how much in the past, he has talked about how much the Yankees love Yoshinobu Yamamoto, or he's not giving you their offer. He's not saying they're a $250 million. He goes on Hot Stove and he says, what I can tell you is the Yankees love the package they see in Yamamoto. They believe in him as a front of the rotation guy, and they're going to work as hard as they can to sell him on being a part of their system. And you could say, okay, so that $300 million, $250 million, he's not going to tell you, but he's just going to tell you they believe in him. So when he says that, know that they're going to be towards the top of the bidding. Mm-hmm. And so when he says that Bellinger was their top planned pursuit and the Grisham thing got in the way, believe that too. He's not saying it's not going to happen. He said it's getting more complicated. And when it's done, whether he signs with the Yankees or not, he will come on Hot Stove and tell you, like I said, there was a lucrative field and the Yankees ultimately were forced to pay more than they wanted to. Or, like I said, it was a lucrative field. The Yankees feel good with what they got in-house, and that's why Bellinger's a Dodger. Bellinger's a Met. I'm not a Bellinger at all costs guy. I didn't walk into this offseason being like 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it takes, blank check Cody Bellinger. But I am a guy who likes it when it does not feel like his front office is getting played. And it feels like the Yankees front office has gotten played already at this juncture. They just sort of feel relentlessly committed to moderate contention. Like they're not a terrible front office and they're not a horrendous organization. And you have like 17-year-olds on Twitter being like, dumpster fire, losers. Like they're certainly in the upper echelon of MLB franchises, but we are frustrated because of this treading water, moderate contention that we have seen for a better part of 15 years since they won their last World Series. Don't step on the gas. And when they do, they only do it once. They bring in Garrett Cole and no one else. They bring in Aaron Judge and Carlos Rodon, and that's it, with an incomplete team and miss the playoffs. They bring in Juan Soto via trade, and the only free agency move they make for the rest of that offseason is Marcus Stroman and the 1 year of Juan Soto. That's what they do. There's definitely an offseason defining move every offseason, but there's never 3. There's never 5. The Blue Jays have brought in Dylan Cease and signed Cody Ponce, the KBO MVP, who a lot of people wanted for the rotation. They've signed this, and they brought in Shane Bieber. They have brought in all of those people to a rotation that includes Jose Barrios, Kevin Gossman, Trey Savage. Like, they don't care that they have 6 people in the rotation and also Eric Lauer and also depth pieces, because rotations need 6, 7, 8. Like, the Blue Jays didn't need to sign Cody Ponce, but an opportunity arose and they were like, 10 more million? What's 10 more million? Who cares? We're the Blue Jays. So that's what the Yankees have to contend with right now. A Red Sox team that's probably going to sign some interesting parties. Blue Jays team that doesn't care. Their rotation is full. They're still signing pieces. And Cody Bellinger, it's more complicated now. I don't know if the Yankees are going to need Belly at all costs, but John Heyman did come out today and give the people who want Bellinger at all costs a little more fuel. He said, quote, Cody Bellinger remains the Yankees' #1 target, and while they aren't necessarily close to a deal yet, they are making a big effort. Bellinger has a ton of interest coming off his 5-war season with the Mets, Phillies, Angels, and his old Dodgers team. Also possibilities. And then some stuff about how Bellinger slightly outplayed Kyle Tucker last year, and I guess that's true, but I don't know. It is true. Bet on that moving forward. It is. We love Cody Bellinger. So Yankees still making a strong effort. Again, it's probably a difference in years. There are a bunch of boogeymen in the market. How far are the Yankees willing to go? How far were they willing to go before Grisham? Like, were they really willing to do 7, and now they're like, we'll only do 4 with opt-outs because we have this 1-year guy? That's even more confounding. If they're trying to stick to their guns on Bellinger, they probably should have been before the Grisham move, but clearly it's impeding them from doing something. But they're still very interested.
Yeah, there's, again, other... First of all, I think that if they really wanted Bellinger, they would, and it's tough because it's a Boris client, but what all these other teams are doing. Orioles already went out and got a couple of people. Orioles were bad. Orioles are not a team that spends. They already went out and they got a couple of people. Blue Jays, 1 game away from losing the World Series. Instead of pouting and crying, they've got 3 other guys in the fold that are going to drastically help them. Red Sox went out and made a trade. All of those teams went out and got players that they believed that they needed, or at the very least, they said, nope, I want this guy. I'm getting him now. I'm not waiting anymore. And that's going to be, it already is, the difference in this offseason between the Yankees and their rivals, because every year Cashman comes out and he says, oh, we're going to wait for the market to materialize. We got to wait and see what the deal is. No, you don't. You need to go out and you need to get the guy that you want. So if they really, really want it, if they're pushing hard for Cody Bellinger right now, if that's true, I'll get to my alternative viewpoint on that in a second, but then they would have made him an offer like on the cusp of something where it was like, hey, are you sure you're going to get a better offer than this?
Yeah.
Here's $185 million. Do you want to
start this at 6/170 before you talk to anybody else?
Yeah. Do you want to sit around for another 4 weeks and see if somebody gives you $20 extra million? Or do you want to just come back and we get this done and now we could figure out what we're doing for the rest of the offseason? Maybe they did that. I highly doubt it because we know the Yankees' behavior. But again, if they really, really like Cody Bellinger, that's how they would have started the offseason discussion. But they want to make sure they're right in the wheelhouse with the years and with the AAV and with the total money, because that's how the Yankees do their business. And it's very drawn out, and it takes up a lot of time, and it is an obstacle for other moves that you can make. Secondly is, do I believe John Heyman? Sure. I think John Heyman is well plugged in and he's got a lot of good things to say about what's going on in the free agent market, but you're not going to tell me that there is 0 chance that Scott Boras was like, hey, John, get out there that the Yankees are heavily making a push for Bellinger, so we can start spooking the Phillies, the Mets, the Dodgers, and all these other teams to see if, they maybe be willing to go up to 200. That's the game. That's just how it goes. I, again, don't know what's true and what's not, but like, why would the Yankees now all of a sudden, we got to make a huge push for Cody Bellinger 2 months after we got eliminated from the playoffs? You had 2 months. You had just about 2 months to figure out a plan to say, you know what? We love Cody Bellinger. We want him here. If it's going to cost an extra year or two and $40 million that we don't want to spend, it is what it is. We'll defer some of the money. Let's do it. They didn't do that. So you're not going to tell me now on December 4th, guys, we forgot. we're really interested in Cody Bell. Oh my God.
He was a
I
great
can't
fit.
believe we didn't think about this sooner.
Yeah.
The guy that we had last year, we really like him. So now we're going to go back and we're going to try and pursue him. We're going to see what happens. So that's where the process just, I can't buy into it and I can't understand it, because the Blue Jays gave Dylan Cease, and again, Dylan Cease, I think that we'll have to see and what happens with the rest of the pitchers on this market. But in my opinion, that's going to end up being either a $20 million overpay, $25 million overpay for Dylan Cease, or it's going to be right on the cusp where it was like maybe he had two other teams in there pressing 200 million when all was said and done. Maybe there was one other team who was considering 225 million. You don't know, but the Blue Jays said, let's get in this range where Dylan Cease can't say no. And if he does, then guess what? We'll be circling back with a lesser offer in 3 weeks and say, hey, you should have taken the $210 million offer when we told you to. He has a different agent, right? He's not Boris, Dylan Cease.
Interesting. I mean, Dylan Cease, my thing with Dylan Cease is just like, that's not someone I'm interested in. So like, I will, give credit where credit's due.
I'm just saying the Blue Jays liked him. The Blue Jays
read the market. Yeah. They read the market, and that was somebody that they wanted. I guess Dylan Cease is a Scott Boras client.
He is,
unless this is poorly worded. But I do think it's
rare to see
top. No, this is MLB. Mark Feinstein. The timing of the move is
he's aces. He's aces.
It's rare to see the top free agents, especially those represented by Boras, sign huge 9-figure deals in November. So, I don't know. Either way.
Yeah, Baseball Reference says aces.
Cool. Well, weird writing by Mark Feinstein, who is somebody else that we do like. But I like Mark. Yeah, in my opinion, like Cease is just not. We're gonna get to the end of the offseason. I'm gonna say I don't miss not having Dylan Cease. It's not somebody I wanted. That's more money than I would have paid him. But you wanted him. You went for it. You paid him the extra money and negotiated the deferrals and found a way to lap the field and get him on board at the end of November, because he was the guy that you targeted, and I can't fault you for that. Put on the New York Sports Radio voice and hat for a couple seconds. In the previous segment, you said that it's been a long time since the Yankees went above and beyond to go get somebody they wanted early in the offseason and make a statement. And I'll tell you this right now, after listening to Jack Curry yesterday, they actually did go out ahead of the offseason and go grab somebody they wanted. But that person was Ryan Yarbrough. He's going to be the fill-in in the rotation. He's the last rotation piece they need. They did lap the offseason. They did make sure they got Yarbrough. That was the guy they did it for. $8 million.
Was it that much?
I actually have no idea. But I do feel like that was like listening to Jack Curry. They got out ahead of the bidding war, and we're like, that. If there's anything you can take away from this latest batch of rumors, it's that they're not going to use money on Tatsuya Imai or any of these pitchers that are going to lick $200 million, because they don't view that as that much of a need. And so they wanted to get out ahead of things and bring Ryan Yarbrough back, a guy who fit well, a guy who will make 5 or 6 starts next year, probably, because people will get hurt. And I wish they would go for the jugular and add Imai, but if I'm power ranking the things I'm mad at the Yankees about, the rotation at some point full strength this year should be Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Cam Schlittler, Luis Heel, Will Warren, Clark Schmidt, Ryan Yarbrough. Like, that thing I just said is the best Yankees rotation in 10 years. Better than the 2000. I mean, they rarely have rotations as their primary strength. That's better than the 2009 rotation, which went 3 people deep.
Yep.
So stuff happens to rotations. Rotations fall apart. Rotations melt. I would love to go grab another guy. I would love to. If you say the Yankees had Imai, I would be thrilled, because then I would start figuring out where to trade Luis Heel and where to trade Will Warren, and I wouldn't be upset about losing them anymore, and I'd be moving chess pieces around. But if we do get to opening day and all the Yankees do is Merrill Kelly, or all the Yankees do is Ryan Yarbrough, I would say, okay, I would have liked some insulation, but that rotation's pretty great. If they can't figure out the outfield and they lose Bellinger with no backup plan, and they forget to build a bench, and they forget to build a bullpen, which again, they got let down by so many different moving parts last year, but the bullpen was hogwash. Like, it was dirt spit. That was the worst Yankees bullpen I can remember watching. And so you would take a lead into the 7th. Like, there's a middle ground between Mariano Rivera and just being like, this isn't a lead. Like, you'd go into the 7th up 3-1, and you'd be like, we might as well already be losing because of how horse ass this bullpen is. And that's what we lived through the whole. And then we got to the playoffs and we're like, hope it works. It's not going to. There's no one in there. So I'm angrier at the bullpen. I'm angrier at the way they've let Grisham impact them. I'm angrier at the lack of plan for fleshing out the lineup and insulating themselves against regression. The rotation, I wish we could say go big or go home, go ahead and get another $200 million guy. But if I'm trying to power rank things I'm upset with, that's low on the list.
Of course, and it's a really good. We have a really good rotation, but the one advantage is where the Yankees can use their money is you get somebody like Imai, and then you free up more candidates to trade. And you might say like Will Warren and Luis Heel, their value isn't exactly sky high, and you'd probably be right about that, but it's definitely higher than Dominguez and Jones because these guys pitched, and have success. So like Will Warren made 30 starts or was close or pitched in 30 games this year. Luis Heel, yeah. And Luis Heel was rookie of the year in 2024.
And I think people love Will Warren. Like,
yeah.
I think you're going to, if the Yankees made Will Warren available, you would hear a lot of smart teams start buzzing about the untapped potential and the below the hood stuff. And you could see it last year. He had spotless starts and then he had implosions on the national stage. And it's tough to reconcile all that. But I bet if you made Will Warren available, a bunch of smart teams would be like, oh, are you sure about that? Oh, okay.
And pitching is more valuable than outfield. And Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez are outfielders, and that's the most expendable position in the league. There's the most outfielders of any, and they're not spectacular on defense. So you're removing a very important element to the whole outfield equation. If they were Gold Glove caliber outfielders, then I'd say, yeah, the value's there, but they're not. So they're just guys with really good offensive potentials that haven't discovered them yet, with very much very well documented issues with their offensive profile. So if the Yankees were smart, then they would say, all right, let's get a really good outfielder and a really good pitcher. And then that would free us up to package Dominguez or Jones with Heel or Warren or whatever you want to do. I'm all for clearing as much as you could possibly clear because the Yankees do this in some version every year. They will clear the tier 2 or tier 3 level of the farm system to make room for the next guys coming up. But the next guys coming up are always like, yeah, they came up, they had some MLB reps, they were fine, or they weren't good, or they were Anthony Volpe, or they were Austin Wells, and it didn't really work out. So yeah, it's nothing. You have some success stories in Ben Rice and Cam Schlittler. I understand that could maybe turn the tide for the player development narrative, but at this point, if you need to go for it, spend money, make trades, get Joe Ryan. The Mets are in on Joe Ryan now. Now you're going to lose leverage because the team with a better farm system is in on Joe Ryan. And we're sure the Dodgers are in on Joe Ryan because that's just how they operate. The Dodgers have ears everywhere, eyes and ears everywhere, and they're always involved in something, and they're always having conversations, and they're always gauging the market ahead of everybody else. So, again, if you spend a little bit of money and press yourself up against that threshold and acquire depth at a certain position that allows you to make trades, and that should be the move. And guess what? Don't be afraid to trade a George Lombard. Don't be afraid to trade Elmer Rodriguez Cruz is now just Elmer Rodriguez, in case you didn't see that. But yeah, like why would you be scared to trade those guys if you're getting the value you feel is worth it in return? If you have the whole point is winning in this window, right? Garrett Cole has 3 years left. We don't know what he's going to look like next year, but I would say in the second half of the year, he'll probably be in good shape if I were to estimate and look at how pitchers have performed after they've gotten enough starts under their belt following Tommy John surgery. I think Max Fried will be fine. I think Carlos Rodon will be fine. I think Cam Schlittler will probably see some regression, but that will be a great back end of the rotation option. I think Luis Heel also will be fine. Will Warren, I see steps forward. So the option, all of that is there. And then you can talk about upside for whomever else and trade them and figure it out. But if you get Imai in the rotation, that gives you flexibility. If you get Tucker Bellinger in the outfield, that gives you flexibility to make packages. And then you can just figure, because there's only so much they can spend on. If we're talking about what's the limit now is 309 or something like that after the tax went up a little bit.
Yeah, they've
So,
got like 60 million to work with overall, but are they going
I don't even think it's that much. I think it's like 48 million, which is why this is complicated. Because if you bring Bellinger or Tucker into the mix, then you're talking about a 30 to 48 million AAV. And that's where it gets complicated. So you gotta be able to make trades. And again, we've heard the Yankees involved. I haven't heard a trade rumor about the Yankees yet. Have you? Like, I really have not.
Well, it's just Jim Bowden saying we're going to get
linking
Sandy
candidates.
Alcantara.
Yeah. No legs to any real trade rumors. And again, I understand maybe they want to operate in the shadows. I get it, but like there are so many other teams that have been mentioned in potential trade talks, and the Yankees are not one of them. So this is where it gets we could be surprised come Sunday night when I guess everybody's arriving in Orlando. Maybe some moves start to happen, but this is where it's a little bit discouraging.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't heard a legitimate trade rumor yet. Like the Mets popped out of nowhere. Mets and Joe Ryan are the closest we've heard in a long time. The Red Sox and Sonny Gray came out of nowhere. Look, maybe the Yankees are lurking in the weeds, but where we're sitting right now doesn't feel like it. And I respect the comment saying that, Cole, Rodon, these are risks, especially in the postseason with what we've seen from Rodon. You need to add Imai. I would kill for it. Like you don't need to sell me on the move. I love the move, but you know how the Yankees operate. Like, would you genuinely, weigh in the comments, would you rather have Imai for that long with that much money or Bellinger? Because it's not going to be both or Tucker at this point, based on the way the Yankees operate. Again, not in a world where the Yankees are the Yankees. They should be able to fill all of these holes with top tier players. They should be like the Dodgers, developing on the farm, cycling people in and out of trade rumors, filling holes, with the occasional young player, but mostly using their farm to churn. But they're not. They rely on their farm. They haven't developed that well, and they cap themselves and don't fill all their needs in one offseason. So I would pick adding Thump to the lineup over a long-term rotation addition. But again, if Imai shows up, I'm thrilled. Get to work on the trade market, move your chess pieces around. And yeah, Kyle Tucker did visit the Blue Jays facility in Dunedin, Florida. So he has yet to go to Canada. Maybe he doesn't have his passport. Maybe the money changer at the airport confused and astounded him, so he went home. But he did check out the facility in Tampa. He has met with the Blue Jays. That's a franchise that was inches away from winning a World Series, does not care about financial caps, does not care about the owner, does not care about his money. Right now, there may come a time again when he does, but they're in a World Series window, and he's going to spend. And he added to a rotation, filled up a rotation, and then he added more to it. And he's going to go meet with Kyle Tucker. They have a pretty good lineup already. He's going to go meet with Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, if that happens, I mean, you might as well just call it, right? I would just start pivoting and planning for 2026. If the Blue Jays get Kyle Tucker, even if they don't return Bo Bichette, what path do you see for the Yankees? I'm just being, again, if there are these moves under the hood that we don't know about, and they have a grand plan that they're going to pivot with, then okay. But in previous off seasons, we kind of saw the possibilities where they could pivot. You don't see much of a lane here. And we know the Yankees lack creativity in this form. They don't make 3-team trades. They're not identifying necessarily diamonds in the rough. They're not making mix and match deals with major league talent and prospect. It just doesn't happen. They don't do that. So if Kyle Tucker signs with the Blue Jays, who, again, I don't know if the Blue Jays are for real or not. We have had essentially a very similar version of this Blue Jays roster for 5 years. They have failed largely for 4 of them, and they were really good for 1 of them. So maybe this year was an outlier. Maybe it's the start of something great for them. I don't know. I really have no idea, because we know how baseball can be fickle in that sense. But even if they do sign Kyle Tucker and don't bring back Bo Bichette, Kyle Tucker will mask deficiencies that this offense may or may not have. Again, maybe they took the step up with Ernie Clement and Addison Barger, and George Springer rediscovering himself. Maybe that has another 2-3 years in the tank. Like, it's possible. Do I think Ernie Clement's going to hit 450 in the playoffs again? No, I don't. I would bet a lot of money that doesn't happen, but it could happen again. But Kyle Tucker joining the Blue Jays, and even if it's a Bo Bichette replacement, that makes the Blue Jays a lot better on paper. And if Bo Bichette comes back, then that makes the Blue Jays a juggernaut. So, and if they're deferring money and they're getting it all out of the way before the new CBA happens, and you're either not able to do that or there's going to be restrictions on what you're able to do, then the Yankees have no choice but to punt 2026 in some capacity and start setting the table for 2027 and beyond. And I know that's not a thing people want to hear, but again, the options are limited. And if the options are limited, then that requires you to get creative. And it's the Yankees famously don't do that. So unless they were to 180 on their processes tomorrow and say, you know what, here we go. We're AJ Prellering. Hey, AJ, get on the phone. Hey, Jerry, Mr. DePoto, how do you navigate these off seasons? Obviously not the two most successful franchises in the world in the Padres and the Mariners, but those are teams with financial constraints. Those are GMs that get super creative. And look, do all those deals work out? No, but they try. They go out and they do crazy stuff. I don't know what that looks like for the Yankees, but they're going to have to do something. And Kyle Tucker being linked to the Blue Jays and visiting them this early, apparently, according to our friend Robert Murray here at Fansided, we just don't know. And it's not a good look for what the Yankees are trying to do. And if they're bringing back Bellinger, let's say in theory they bring back Bellinger, like, again, it's the same thing as this year. So then you're just hoping, okay, it was a good team. They were top 5 overall in offense, top 3 overall in offense, but they flamed out in the playoffs, which is a characteristic of this team for the past 15 years. You're just hoping that they get hot in the playoffs this time around. Okay, great. Maybe it happens. Probably not going to, though. So the Kyle Tucker rumor early on, this always happens. There's the preliminary work these teams. I'm sure Kyle Tucker's visited a couple of other teams that we haven't heard about. But the Blue Jays being deathly serious about this, especially after shelling out, they've already shelled out $240 million on Cease and Ponce. They're going to shell $500-600 million this offseason. They were one game away from the World Series. I would if I were them.
Also, Kyle Tucker's in Tampa, didn't visit the Yankees facility. Oh, okay. So
the Yankees were having their kids' Christmas yesterday, so
yeah.
He
was like, "Can I drop by?" And they're like, "Yeah, Aaron Judge is giving away, barbecue."
He's giving away Hess trucks. Come on down.
Yeah, we just can't. Yeah, if you want to get in line, I mean, yeah, they disrespect Kyle Tucker. They're like, "Oh, we're kind of busy. We got a lot of kids to give gifts to, but if you want to sit on Santa's lap, we could let you cut a little bit in line, but not all the way." He's like, "No, I want to talk to the front office." They're like, "Oh," and he's already hung up the phone. We should talk a little bit before the end of the show too, just because the Devin Williams thing and the Sonny Gray thing, like, both are fall in similar buckets to me. Just like, I'm rolling my eyes, and it's like really hard to care about these types of things. But the Mets thing with the ex-Yankees and the ex-problematic Yankees is getting a little bit sad. It's getting very weird, and over again. So Juan Soto does not fall in this bucket, right? That is Steve Cohen flexing his muscles, and the Yankees and Mets just going toe-to-toe for the top free agent on the market, who was a Yankee for like 6 seconds, and we felt like it was meaningful, and I guess it wasn't, or maybe it was. Maybe he's got a chilly relationship with his captain, Francisco Lindor. Whatever it is, biggest name on the market, Mets got him. So be it. The other crosstown swaps, like the Clay Holmes, Adam Ottavino, Luis Severino, Frankie Montas, it just feels like whenever the Mets make these moves, people write, "Ooh, very shrewd. They watched him with the Yankees, and he struggled there, but they know exactly how to get him right." And then we watch Luis Severino go there, and he was very good, not great. Certainly better in 2024 than he was in 2023, but when it came time for the postseason, it's like Luis heel light, like a 4 2/3 inning start with 4 walks and a 6th inning start in Philly. It was decent, 4 runs and 6 innings in Milwaukee. Like, by the end of the year, he was okay. He didn't really teach us a lesson. Clay Holmes last year, they're going to make him a starter. David Stearns is a genius. He knows that Holmes got unlucky in 2024, in the year where the Yankees thought he was the worst pitcher in the world. And then by end of year, Clay Holmes was very tired and was someone that had, 165 representative, pretty solid, pretty good, pretty valuable innings. But by end of year, was part of that collapse. His arm started to drag. By end of year, no one was like, David Stearns really outfoxed the Yankees on this one. Everyone was like, yep, that's pretty much what we told you we saw. And then Devin Williams. Everyone agrees with the the K rate was just as good as it's ever been. And the peripherals prove he's going to bounce back. The peripherals certainly look like he has more in the tank than what he showed with the Yankees. Absolutely. But it can't get worse. First and foremost, it cannot get worse. So you're going to get a better version of Devin Williams next year, because it cannot get worse. That's going to be the worst season of his career. Maybe it can.
Or can it?
But I think you can't just overlook what we just saw and say, like, I looked at the below the hood stuff. He's still Devin Williams. 3 years, $50 million is going to be a bargain. Like, it wasn't home games in New York. He was awful in hostile environments last year. He had a 5.93 ERA in 34 road games. So it wasn't like came to Yankee Stadium, melted down, or the ballpark factor didn't help him. Or no, he was coming into save situations on the road, 1-run games, no fastball command.
Minor league stadiums.
Minor leagues blowing 4-run leads in Tampa at the Yankees facility. In hostile road environments, he was basically unpitchable. And then by the end of the year, things started looking better because the Yankees were really manufacturing lanes for him and figuring out ways for him to face 8-9-1 or 6-7-8. And he was gaining confidence. He had some good games at Fenway as a setup man. And then by the time the playoffs came around, he was forced to face Vladimir Guerrero Jr. because the Yankees had no relievers they could trust other than Fernando Cruz, and David Bednar. And he miraculously got him out in a big situation in Game 3 of the ALDS. And he was good against the Red Sox in that first round. But if you gave the Yankees truth serum and they were like, did you trust him enough to use him against Vlad Jr. at that point? They would have been like, absolutely not. No chance. But they did because they had no one else. And so is he going to be better for the Mets next year? I think he's going to be better than he was last year with the Yankees. But I would be cautious about ignoring everything we just watched and just saying ERA is volatile year to year and relievers are volatile year to year. I saw Devin Williams in road environments last year when I needed him. He was the singular difference between securing the division and securing a wild card. And I felt good at the end of the year when he looked better, but it's really hard to forgive the transgressions of most of April and then the majority of the summer. So let's wait a little while before we say, oh, well, this was obviously a bargain. The Yankees couldn't do it. He couldn't do it there. They couldn't figure him out, but the Mets will. Nobody knows him like David Stearns. The Yankees figured it out by the end of the year, but their strategy mostly involved avoiding conflict. And I would just say there's more to this than the FIP.
Of course. And it's a crappy situation overall, right? Because the Yankees statistically got the best closer in the sport from 2020 to 2024. And that is not what they received upon the trade. So usually we've seen it with how many candidates? Josh Donaldson, Joey Gallo, Sonny Gray, who we'll talk about in a minute, Lance Lynn, Jay Happ, list goes on and on of trade candidates or signings that did not work out like in horrible fashion, either from the jump or in like year 2 or something. And you can't bring that person back, or you have to begin some sort of exit strategy for them because it's just not going to go well. And I think the environment for Devin Williams was just not what it should have been. We talked about that when he arrived in spring training. His body language was just odd. He didn't seem like he was motivated or what. And I don't know what he was feeling. He claims he liked it and he wanted to be here, but every other thing that we watched and we saw suggested the opposite. And this is another problem with the front office. They just continue to get guys who are not fits, who can't handle the environment, who don't like it here, can't handle whatever it is here. It's a demanding market. We all know that. We talk about it very often. What's upsetting about it is that the Yankees gave up a Rookie of the Year candidate in Caleb Durbin for Devin Williams. And because Devin Williams did so poorly for the most part in New York, there was no way to justify re-signing him, especially even at that money. And then also on the flip side is like, they gave the Mets a discount because if Devin Williams has like a solid, if he has a solid season, if he's like, 3.25 ERA, 24 saves, like he's still making 20 plus million a year if that happens. Because guess what? He did it in New York and he left small market Milwaukee and he came and he was able to do it on a playoff contender whose expectations are sky high every year. So teams would have valued that. Instead, he essentially imploded without fully imploding. He imploded 79%. And then the Mets came in and they said, well, I don't know if I believe the Mets are still in on Diaz because I don't know who's like the Mets went out on a limb to sign Edwin Diaz to that first contract when he was 29 years old. Now he's 32. I don't know why they would now do the same contract with him almost guaranteed to regress.
I can very confidently say if they don't bring Edwin Diaz back, this is a mistake.
Exactly.
If he's your closer, this is a mistake.
Yeah. Or if you don't get another high leverage arm. I don't know who it is, but it doesn't have to be Edwin Diaz. In that same breath, though, I don't know how you could sit there and invest $155 million in two bullpen arms, and they're both very inconsistent in regard to Edwin Diaz. You look at every other year, it's a mixed bag. You don't know. Devin Williams, we knew of the walks issues, the control issues, the kind of making the ninth inning a little bit of a cardiac moment for fans. Brewers fans relayed that to us. So that profile for him has always been there, but that's not good when you're going to a better division. Like the NL Central largely was not great during Devin Williams's reign. Now he was just in the AL East, which is a very good division, and we saw what happened with that. And the NL East is an extremely talented division. So, but the fact that it is funny that the Yankees essentially gave the Mets a discount and a new setting to Devin Williams that could help him, could be a breath of fresh air. We don't know. But yeah, the Mets link here is annoying because it was the one destination where if the Soto thing, the Soto thing was a Soto thing. Like Yankee fans who were either butthurt about that or who were like taking Mets fans' insults seriously, it's just like, get over yourself, man. Like there's so many other things to focus on. Juan Soto was going to the highest bidder. We knew that. Steve Cohen won the bidding. It's not a shocker. He's the richest man in the sport, so he was going to do that. And it wasn't like, oh, this guy has to come back to the Yankees. No, he absolutely doesn't. He can go anywhere he wants. And that was a deal that was like, all right, like it happened. And also he's going to be good. So we just have to let it go. For Devin Williams, if he's good now after failing in New York, like Juan Soto helped the Yankees to the World Series, if Devin Williams is good in Queens, it's really going to be unbearable. But on the flip side, if he's terrible, it's going to be hilarious. I don't want him to be terrible because that's mean, and I don't really want to see that happen for him. But Mets fans will get a taste of their own medicine if that's the case.
And I guess Yankee fans were in his DMs, and I'm not surprised by that at all. Yankee fans are an interesting breed, and they did not enjoy their time with Devin Williams for good reason most of the time. So, yeah, I'm sure they were probably harassing him, although they should not have been doing that. You guys are weird for doing that. But I believe him when he says Yankee fans were in my DMs and he's laughing at him. You know who I don't believe? Sonny Gray, who joined the Red Sox officially this week, did his press conference. And it's just crazy how many liars are on the Red Sox. It's Hunter Dobbins now and Sonny Gray. Hunter Dobbins. Yeah, Alex Cora, cheater and liar. Hunter Dobbins being like, my dad was a Yankee, and they disrespected him. Then everyone being like, your dad was never a Yankee, and him being like, I did not question the stories my dad told because it served me not to. Okay, cool. Followed by Sonny Gray, who, look, I am sure he hates the Yankees now more than he did when he arrived in 2017, right? There's no way he feels as good about them after struggling here as he did before he joined us. And he was a kid from Tennessee, pitching out in Oakland, going to the big city. That was probably pretty scary. So Sonny Gray getting a chance to performatively hate the Yankees, not shocking that he's going to go ahead and take it with the Red Sox. Not shocking at all. But it's the outright lies and stretching of truth. And again, here are Red Sox fans who are like the people who doubted yesterday's hot stove, just regurgitating what they wanted to hear, believing what they wanted to hear, and dismissing what they didn't want to hear. So Sonny Gray in the Red Sox press conference saying, I've always been a Boston guy. My Vanderbilt coach played Sweet Caroline. He said, I'm more Boston than any other place. That is fucking insane. He's from Tennessee. What? That's insane. But Red Sox fans believe that. And they're like, well, when he had his Yankees press conference and he said, I'm so excited to be here. When they told me this is a possibility, I was so thrilled that it might be the Yankees. Every kid dreams of being a Yankee. Red Sox fans are like, yeah, why would he lie in his press conference joining a new team? And I'm like, yeah, why would he lie? Or like, why would he say that he wasn't happy? Obviously, he would make something up if, he would never say that he was having trepidation when he was joining a new team. He would obviously try to make it seem like a better situation. Yeah, you're right there. You're so close. No matter what team he's joining, Yankees or Red Sox, Sonny Gray's got to find a way to ingratiate himself to the local fan base. So it's very convenient that he had a bad experience in New York. And so now he can say, I'm glad I'm comfortable and able to hate the Yankees. I'm more Boston than any other place. He admitted he bought the 2007 World Series hat last week. He said that in the press conference. So people saying the Yankees press conference was PR spin, but him going to Boston is his authentic self. Give me a break. And then people saying the difference that he could waive his no trade clause this time around and not when he went to the Yankees. Give me a break. St. Louis is about to be a dumpster fire, making a fire sale. So he could have made his life difficult, right? If St. Louis said, we have a trade to Boston, we're going to trade everyone. This team is going to be a 62-win team. We're starting over. Sonny Gray nodding and going, okay, fine. And they go, we have a trade to Boston. He could have gone, no, I'm not leaving. And then he could have wasted his age 36 season with a bad team. Or he could have signed off and said, yeah, sure, I'll go to Boston. Who wouldn't want to go to Boston right now? They are a contender. That's obviously a good landing spot for a guy whose choices are Boston, team selling off all its assets that's trying to get you to waive your no trade clause, or the mystery box where you're like, maybe there's a better trade down the line. Maybe the Braves, maybe the South. I don't know. West Coast, maybe tax free. I don't know. When he was acquired by the Yankees, he wrote on the Players Tribune that he loved watching the 2009 Yankees. He did CC's podcast, said how he loved how New York opened his eyes. Now that he's in Boston, he grew up watching Josh Beckett all of a sudden. He said something about how he bought a Red Sox hat. He went to a game in 2007. It's great. It's fine. But it's all PR. He's leaning into different elements. You get traded to the Yankees. You say you dreamed about being a Yankee. You go to the Red Sox after having a tough time in New York, and you say, well, good. Now I can hate the Yankees. There's probably a kernel of truth to all of it. I'm sure he was excited to see what it was like in New York with the Yankees. Didn't work out the way he wanted it to. I'm sure he is excited to hate them now because it's better for his narrative, and it's a fun little twist. Gets the fans on his side. They're both PR spins. Neither is the authentic Sonny Gray. So I'm not sure why everybody went to all this energy to prove that he was hypocritical and made statements that clash in the past. And Red Sox fans got more bent out of shape by Yankee fans pointing out Sonny Gray's lies than they did about Cam Schlittler and that situation. Red Sox fans calling Yankee fans soft for this, but it's not soft, to be offended by Cam Schlittler saying you should stop harassing his family. I don't really, that doesn't compute to me. Seems like pretty soft by the Boston fan base to be like, Cam Schlittler's public enemy number one because he beat us and he said that we were harassing his mom, which was publicly viewable. We all saw it. So everybody's soft. Yankee fans, Red Sox fans, you're both soft. Wow. I'm glad the rivalry's back. But Sonny Gray's lying. He's lying.
Of course. And it's a rite of passage. You go to Boston, you start lying. You say you hate, I believe this. It's like political propaganda 101. You just tell a room of people what they want to hear and they start cheering. Sonny Gray wasted no time. It was 2 minutes into the press conference. Oh yeah. It was great that I could arrive here and hate the Yankees and make my life easier. It's like, what are you even talking about, dude? You know why you waived your no trade clause? So you can get paid $41 million this year. Pretty good deal, right? Hey, Sonny, waive your no trade, leave a team that is going to be a NL Central basement dweller, and here's $41 million, which is probably $25 million more dollars than you're worth at this point in your career. There you go. That's why he waived the no trade. He doesn't want to be in Boston. He's not more Boston than anywhere else. The Red Sox are not the most attractive destination out there. There was a team interested in him, getting him out of purgatory. It was the former GM of the team, so I'm sure Chaim Bloom was able to pull some strings there and make the deal expedite the deal a little bit faster. And we'll see. You know what? We'll see how it works out, because you know where Sonny Gray's stats for his career were the best, or where he had his best seasons. Individually, because in totality, he's close to a 4 ERA. I think his career ERA is like 3.88 or 3.9 or something, which is solid career from Sonny Gray. But
he is fine.
Best years were Oakland, nobody cares. Minnesota, nobody cares. Cincinnati, nobody cares. And then he had a good year in St. Louis, but it wasn't like Cy Young caliber. Those other 3 years were Cy Young caliber. What do all those teams have in common? Bottom 10 in attendance in MLB for the last 10 years on average. So now he'll be in Boston. It'll be a little bit more of a high-stakes situation. He'll be playing in hostile environments in Toronto, in New York. I guess I wouldn't call Baltimore that, but it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more of a culture shock in a way, because you're in the. I mean, he already experienced it here. He was bad here. Blame Larry Rothschild. He messed with his pitch arsenal. Sonny Gray was a top 3 Cy Young finalist, and this was another fault of Brian Cashman. He brought a guy here who apparently didn't want to be here, and then also brought a guy here who was coming off a career worst season after he had lost his stuff in 2016. And it was Brian Cashman like, oh man, I can get this guy at a discount. Great. Yeah, but are you actually getting him at a discount, or are you getting him at fair value because he might not be good anymore, or he might not return to the levels that he did, or this is not a fit? So Sonny Gray comes here and is not good, which could be an extension of the 2016 season. I don't know. But blaming Larry Rothschild, like, Sonny Gray is an adult man who was a Cy Young candidate. He could have told Mr. Rothschild, hey, not throwing that pitch. It's not working out for me, so I'm going to go my own. But what are they going to do, fire him? Oh, Sonny, you're fired. You didn't throw the changeup today.
Yeah,
you didn't throw the splitter. Get out.
Hit the showers like Domingo Herman showing up drunk.
Put him in the sauna. It's just, everybody has to take responsibility for their actions. Obviously, the Yankees screwed this up mightily. Sonny Gray did himself no favors. He was smiling and laughing coming off a mound after he had gotten bludgeoned at Yankee Stadium. So wasn't a fit, don't care, but now don't tell me you're elated to be in Boston and this is where you've always wanted to be. It was a place that got you to expedite a $41 million payment, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, Sonny Gray from the jump in New York. The year that he really fell apart was 2018.
Yeah.
But from the jump in 2017, I was like, this guy's fine.
Fine.
Like, oh, I thought we were getting a difference maker, like a number 1 in a playoff series, and this guy's fine.
We got a depth starter.
He nibbles a lot. Like, the ERA is under 4. You got a chance to win when he's on the mound, but the nibbling, I can't. The nibbling is not for me. It's just, there's nothing that bothers me more than, like, drops curveball in for strike 1. Fastball off the corner, ball 1. Fastball a little further off the corner. Foul ball, strike 2. Curveball in the dirt. Then we're aiming for the corner, and we just foul. We just got no put away pitch. And curveball bounces, 9 pitch walk. And that was the Sonny Gray experience. It was like, all right, so we got no put away. The curveball's not doing it. What else? It's very loopy. It's very predictable. And this was prime Sonny Gray. So best of luck. He obviously, I'm sure he'll have a moment when he absolutely shoves against the Yankees, because that's what happens. I'm sure he'll also have a moment where the Yankees stomp on him. Remember when the Yankees owned David Price? That was great. Like, could we just have a cool Red Sox who we own again? That would be wonderful. Maybe it'll be the whole team. Maybe we'll just own them now that we beat them in a playoff series. Although, again, every Red Sox fan.
Yankees kicked Sonny Gray's ass.
Last year.
4.5 ERA.
Yeah. Every Red Sox fan now has moved on to the Yankees beating the Red Sox in the playoff series doesn't count because of how shitty the Red Sox were.
Yep.
Okay, Brainiacs, good one. Again, we're both saying the same thing here. You don't get you don't get points for saying our team was terrible. Like, yeah, we know. That's what we're saying. Your team was terrible. We beat you. And by the way, Red Sox fans still flexing winning the 2021 wild card game over a Yankees team with Andrew Velasquez at shortstop and Garrett Cole on one leg. It counts. You beat us in a playoff series. It counts. We beat you in a playoff series. It counts. And the argument we sucked is not a pro-you argument. So you got to figure that one out at some point. Good luck to Sonny Gray. Good luck to Devin Williams. Good luck to the Yankees at the winter meetings. Who the hell knows what they're going to do? Certainly, I mean, maybe John Heyman does. Jack Curry seems to. But, hey, some surprise, some intrigue would be fantastic. Last year's winter meetings set up the Devin Williams trade. They were really talking up Caleb Durbin at the winter meetings. And ultimately, they did not give him an opening day roster spot. They used him to go ahead and get the best closer in baseball, who was not very good. Might not be a closer anymore. They make the Max Fried move at the winter meetings. They flirt with Christian Walker at the winter meetings. It was a little bit later in the month that they get Williams and Bellinger and Goldschmidt. But usually the Yankees are good for one transaction at the winter meetings and a whole lot of hubbub. This year, we'll see. I'm a little more pessimistic, as so is Thomas. We just did 40 minutes of pessimism. But next week, you'll hear from us Monday, Thursday. The winter meetings begin, I think, technically Sunday night, but a lot of outlets are saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and everybody leaves on Thursday morning. Either way, you'll hear from us. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carranante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account. That is at Yanks Go Yard FS. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. We could go live at different hours next week, depending on if the Yankees do something. Do something, please. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. That's where all of the other bits of information that you are going to need to know leading into this weekend and next week will be. We appreciate you guys reading and tuning in as always. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Yanks winter meetings. Let's go. Figure it out. Don't make me sad. Don't make me pessimistic. Don't do it.
Don't do it, guys. Thank you for listening, watching. Join us next week. And again, turn on those notification bells so that you can find out what the hell? These guys are going live now. Something must have happened. Yeah, we're going to go live at weird times. If they do business, if they don't, you can catch us at our typical times, probably getting upset. But reason to believe would be nice, Yankees. No more qualifying offers, luckily, so you can't give those out anymore. Do something that pushes the team forward, rolls the ball in the right direction. We'll see you next week.